a soul to steal. He was in a bind because he was way behind. He was willing to make a deal. When he came across this young man sawing on a fiddle and playing it hot, and the devil jumped up on a hickory stump and said, boy, let me tell you what. I guess you didn't know it, but I am a fiddle player too. And if you care to take a dare, I'll make a bet with you. Now you play pretty good fiddle, but you give the devil his due. I'll bet a fiddle gold against your soul, cause I think I'm better than you. The boss said my name's Johnny, and it might be a sin, but I'll take your bet and you're gonna regret, cause it's the best it's ever been. Johnny, rosin up your bow and play your fiddle hard, cause hell's broke loose in Georgia and the devil deals the cards. And if you win, you get this shiny fiddle made of gold, but if you lose, the devil gets your soul. And he said, I'll start the show. And fire flew from his fingertips as he rosined up his bow. And he pulled the bow across the strings and made an evil hiss. And then a band of demons joined in and said it was something like this. Ever listen to this song all the way through. When the devil finished, Johnny said, well, you're pretty good, old son, but sit down in that chair right there and I'll show you how it's done. Run, boys, run. The devil's in the rising sun. Chicken in the bread, and go. Bring go round, go shall go. His head and knew that he knew that he would beat. He laid that golden fiddle on the ground at Johnny's feet. Johnny said, devil, just come on back if you ever want to try. I told you once, you son of a bitch, I'm the best there's ever been. He played round about run, boy, run. Devil's in the house of the rising sun. Chicken in the bread, better pick it out, dough. Rain away, don't bite, no child, no.
Looking to sell some wheat.
I've never heard that version before. Anyway, I have a thing to read. It's called Satan, That Old Devil. The long ones. I've had a hell of a week. Anyway, I want to read you a quote. It's by William Blake. I must create a system or be enslaved by another man's. I will not reason and compare. My business is to create. This is William Blake. William Blake was a very famous poet and artist who lived right around the time of the Romantic poets and the Industrial Revolution, the start of it. And during that time, we saw the introduction of a very evil energy entering the planet. It was also the introduction of the seventh ray, which I talked about in another video, but these poets were witnessing a very dark sea change. Less care, less compassion, more evil was entering the world. A shift was taking place, and these poets captured it. Through their inspiration, they left us a warning. And William Blake was one of the most brilliant of those poets, in my opinion. And he wrote this beautiful book of poetry called Songs of Innocence and Experience. And I think that that is a good segue for this topic. In a spirit of service, I'm called to lend words to an ancient occult topic, one from which every master of light battles to save us, one through which Christ, master of all masters, blazed a great trail back into heaven. That's a wild story. One which theosophists like Rudolf Steiner, who broke from the movement at a certain point and started anthroposophy, which is an incredible practical system. Not really a system, just like a breadth of study that he, through his like cumulative understanding as one of the great initiates of the Rosicrucian path, he brought through so many cool things. He did so much for the planet, but he was also this incredible channeler who brought through a lot of ideas pertaining to, I might do a little bit of healing work on myself. I hope you guys don't mind. But anyway, yeah, so he brought through a lot, and some of his channeling sessions were pretty fucking cool. He was a very well-trained clairvoyant, trained. He could get up to the seventh dimension, and he could pull information directly from the Akashic Zone. And in the Akashic Zone is located the Akashic Records. And so Rudolf Steiner had a lot of information regarding the entity of Ahriman. Alice Bailey wrote extensively and prolifically about this topic, although not directly. And and this is also a topic that the great teacher who holds the key of perfection and impeccability as a great master of wisdom during his lives as Thoth and Hermes seeded burgeoning human minds thousands of years ago to be savvy and wise enough to confront face to face one day at the culmination, the pinnacle of our evolution. This is also a ghost story that will send shivers down your spine. Things that go bump in the night. It's a story of lost love. This requires a mind for wisdom. For those of y'all that need it spelled out for you, I met the devil, and I have some thoughts to share. I have a thing to say about it. Wisdom is interesting and is something that we gain over the course of experience. Wisdom is not the same as discernment. Wisdom comes whether experiences are positive or negative. Wisdom is paved over the course of the truth, the course of time. It's paved over the course of time. Oh, it's paved over the course of time. And time is what unfurls the truth of experience, as only time gives way to the truth. Wisdom, despite the signposts that we may or may not get the memo about is something that happens whether or not we have lack of discernment, whether or not we lack or have discernment. As the old saying goes, the old Zen proverb, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Some of us just have to learn the hard way, unfortunately. Discernment is something that is crucial to forge within our awareness. Discernment sometimes comes as a product of wisdom, and sometimes discernment is something that is innately there with us, guided by spirit, that allows us to pay attention and focus on deeper levels to catch the deeper meanings that spirit is trying to impart. Discernment is that hunch that carries us in the right direction and helps us to see deeper and take actions in the moment that are good for us. Whereas wisdom is the canary in the coal mine of experience, right? A lot of people had to die in coal mines before they realized that the air sometimes was very polluted down there. So that little canary ended up being a sacrifice so that miners wouldn't die. That's wisdom. That's the difference between wisdom and discernment. Discernment is the thing that sometimes is wrong but saves us. And wisdom is the thing that we know based on hard-won experience. This requires a mind of wisdom, what I'm about to talk about. The influence of what I'm about to talk about is completely insidious. It's very personal, and it very much pays closer attention to us than we realize at first glance. It listens deeply in on us. Deeply in on us. Okay, let me just... We're having a little bit of a technical difficulty here with the music. To go back and do. Oh, I see what I did. Just 1 second. Anyway, the influence of it is insidious as fuck. It's very personal. It pays closer attention to us than we realize at first glance. It studies us. It knows us better than we know ourselves. Is it serpent-like? Maybe. Maybe there's a quality of it that's serpent-like. But in reality, it has the consciousness of a mushroom. It has the influence of vines growing around a tree, of fungus, something that is quietly feeding on us and hanging out on our peripherals, watching, eating at us, and looking for holes to further burrow into us, to influence us, and ultimately commandeer the consciousness. It is completely ruthless at levels of criminality to pursue its aims. What does it want? All or nothing. All or nothing. Speaking as a warrior on the front lines of a dragon of a thing that few may ever witness, the stakes are pretty fucking substantial. Sometimes we are left unprotected and to find ways to fend for ourselves without the sword in our hands. On occasion, it's straight up fucking around and finding out on a level that we can't afford and at prices that we never dreamed we would pay. Ironically, the things that protect us the most from it are the foundations that we get at early moments in life. If we don't know how the world works, and we spend our lives cloistered and are so overprotected as to keep us from gaining the skills we need to navigate this world skillfully, we don't stand a chance. Children, of course, can't remain children forever. We can't live in cribs and be in diapers our whole lives, even if that's your kink. We aren't happy in states of perpetually arrested development. The veils need to be removed and come off at a certain point or we fall prey. these forces love and are drawn to innocence the most. We have a kind of flavoring of it, but with something else lurking and not always easy to see. Like a great teacher once shared with me in one of the last counseling sessions he ever gave. It's a speck of dirt at the beach. They prize away the most beautiful things, the best things within a person. They isolate and prey on the vulnerable and the defenseless, the hardest. Most of all, they love the most innocent light as their food. That force wants to be our daddy. That force is the child molester at the playground handing out candy. That force is in the gutter dressed like a clown. Where does the middle ground come in to protect this sacred, innocent light of God? And also develop the strength of mind and energy so that this light can flourish and blossom in people. So that this light can be safe, to have a future in love and grow into something exquisitely beautiful. The seed can't remain a seed forever. It can't remain protected in that shell. And strength does not lie in the shell that shackles that spark initially, but rather is in the spark of light, intelligence, and cosmic fire that has the courage and impetus pushing it through the topsoil to grow itself into something. Mushrooms are also a kind of form that grows, but within their nature as a consciousness are not reaching towards the sun. They have a functionality and a purpose, but the energy there, the green energy, the life, the flourishing energy isn't green at all, but something that thrives as a consciousness, as a design on death and decay. A purpose not in the light, and that is the symbol that we use here. This requires a mind of wisdom. I've spoken in my other videos, of course, about nudges in the direction that spirit guides us. These are not instructions, but rather suggestions, because the light won't ever hold guns to our head or tell us what to do. The light is liberation, and we must seek it ourselves. It just holds the door open for us so that we can walk through it. It is innately the way of the light to hold the door open for us and not to break the covenant of sacred law. And that sacred law is, of course, free will. One of the suggestions that I've always gotten from every teacher and from every meditation with any legitimate meditation that wasn't being tampered with or polluted is to cultivate a live, flexible thinking, married with discernment and skepticism. To become a true person of power is not to operate from this capacity of being an automaton, being a blind follower, not blindly just following a pattern that we are told to act from within unconsciousness. This is actually what these forces do to ideologies and teachings meant to liberate us. They calcify them and they turn them into dogma. They become poisoned when they stop being organic and living in the fresh air of change and evolution. Every belief system needs to evolve as people evolve, otherwise it becomes a thing that holds people back. Rather than applying understanding and actions indicated, driven by love and necessity in the moment, in this way we remain in integrity. Spirit wants us to serve and do the same in a way that results in the highest level of service that we can create, which is a pathway back to itself for others and for ourselves. And if there is a choice between service to self and service to others, the highest choice is to make sacrifices so that all can be in the light. Sometimes the spirit of service calls us to be in integrity, but of course there is this dichotomy between the spirit and letter of the law. Going back into dogma here, if someone, for example, is in dire straits and needs help, is it more in service, for example, if we have an arbitrary rule that we are following, to follow that rule or break with the dogma that we have, encased ourselves within to save a person's life? a warning there for my brothers and sisters. No one is free from dogma entirely, and no one is free from this influence. Satanic forces operate from calcification, love to harden the mind and deaden the nerves. Satanic forces love red tape for this reason. They love electrical tape, wires, medieval torture devices, modern torture devices, vice grips. They love rape. They love violence. But most of all, the most common thing satanic forces use to implement are ways that drive us mindlessly to waste our energy in trivial pursuits and drown in lack of consciousness. Sometimes that drowning can be dogma. Other forces are a bit flaky in that they want us trapped in our heads and never bringing our dreams into reality. The middle way, a path that straddles the ephemeral and the worldly, is a path of love and balanced will, is the force that changes the mind, being mastered by the ego and world, and transforms the struggle between force and form into implementation of the will of God acting within us. This is the small voice that leads us to the true way, truth and light that carries with it true discernment and guides us along our path to avoid the insane pitfalls. But without a properly formed, accumulated adult understanding of both forces of force and form, there are not hands to be used as implements. Our hands are tied behind our backs. We are not meant to be automatons only existing within the realm of form, material world, or ego. We are not meant to live our lives lawlessly either. We are not meant to be without formation in our understanding of the world, or dissipating our energies in ways that carry us away from purpose, love, connection, creation of beauty, fulfillment, and connection with divinity. There are many infinite expressions from within this collective mind at every dimension, and ways to apply this explanation, of course. It all boils down really to two choices. Are we going to be food? Are we going to be slaves? Will we be this shit in which mushrooms grow? Are we worm food? Are we manure? Will we be consumed? Or will we master that middle way, climb into the infinite, and choose that door where life can become technicolor again? Or are we going to become creators? Consciousness situates us at the true level. We have attained beyond mere intellectualization, lunar ideas about it that merely hint at the truth or worldly self-actualization. This needs a mind of wisdom. That old devil creeps up like a mushroom, creeps like a mushroom into our peripheral visions, finds areas that take us away from service, from our hopes and dreams, and purpose to create lack of flow for us and others, tells us to stop paying attention to the signs, to stop hearing the call, and it finds ways to redirect us away from whatever will serve us and create the highest and best good at a level of divinity, at a level of consciousness of the masters of light. The things that matter to human beings matter quite little, and the smallest things can become of the greatest importance. And this requires a mind for wisdom. When you see it, when you see what the face of this influence is, it can never be unseen. The thing is, of course, is that satanic forces have been here the longest. This is the occult explanation of it. They know exactly the path that human beings need to take. They know it by heart, helped to design it, believe it or not. And they do, in a way, serve the will of God and have and had a hand in creation. It's, of course, the toilet, the sewer. They played a role, but they played a role, you know, and the lord of the lavatory, the latrine, the privy chamber, the count of the privy chamber, the lord of the chamber pot, you know, a handsome psychopath charmer who really hates his job, will tell half-truths, enlightened in a certain capacity, but these beings have a certain degree of understanding, a high degree of it, but also neither hold nor anchor divinity. They are, at an innate level, most envious of us, and they know where we are trying to go, have a chance to go, and want to desperately head us off at the pass. They are the sign in the forest, in Wonderland, that points in every fucking direction. They use our blind spots, our lack of knowing ourselves, where we are unconsciously misusing will, or being lukewarm, or blindly, unconsciously allowing ourselves to move through life, be led through life, to conquer us. They try to permanently bar the door back even after we have already found it. It has the consciousness of a mushroom. It has the kind of desperation. It has a kind of desperation. It has wishful thinking. And there's this odd sense of euphoria when it delights in its plans potentially working out. It's euphoria, but it's not of the light. It has a robotic way of operating, and there is a sense of no love and compassion, this coldness behind this energy. There's a very well-developed sense of form, but not the kind of form anyone from any walk of life or ideology wants. It is form being imposed. The theft of purpose, the redirection of one's will to a slave master. It is stalemate, stale energy. It has the consciousness of a mushroom. We are not meant to be unfeeling automatons at any point in our existence. We are not meant to be in a simulation. Matter is the servant, not the master. Its Lord, of course, challenges us to a duel for our throne room all the time, in the smallest to the largest of ways. There is a sadness in the fate of these beings because they play a role where they are furthest from source. It is their purpose and their nature to be evil. There is compassion even for Satan because these beings are the furthest away from the light of all. And he finds the divinity within us and remembers where he comes from vicariously. But also don't forget, this motherfucker is the boss layer, is Resident Evil, he is the Purge. He has an orc army behind every distraction that turned out to be a fatal choice. He is causing another battle for Helm's Deep on this planet, and this time there is no help from the other races. His is the way of annihilation of the soul and damage to divinity. Curiosity, of course, killed the cat. Drives learning. Every path does lead to wisdom, but not to reuniting with source. Wisdom and truth unfold over time. Discernment is what leads us out of hell into the light. Learning from the wisdom of those who have gained it for better or for worse is also another way of forging discernment. It has the consciousness of a mushroom and is the essence of a swamp. It doesn't like being noticed. It lays infinite traps. There is a quicksand in its murky layer that smells of rot, death, terror, and the kind of dangers that cause more delicate minds not used to its harshness to convulse in a kind of self-protective cognitive dissonance. There is slavery on its mind. Slavery, a gateway that leads to horror, tentacles with a wide reach and scope. It strikes like a scorpion And sometimes we don't know when we've been hit. It has the consciousness of a mushroom, and hell is a swamp. This requires a mind for wisdom. This requires a mind for wisdom. Time to get free or die trying. Anyway, have a beautiful night. Cuddle the light close. And pray for the call to be heard. Because we could all use some prayers right now. God